I'd never experienced this. It's overwhelming. I wanted to die. I couldn't deal with this pain.
It just started trying to say, you know, there's complications of surgery, and I just said, as my sister died.
Some eyes once lit up the stage without the need for lights. Some lips were once likened to the lipstick of God. But time and the cruelty of the entertainment industry have turned 21 stars who were once considered the standard of beauty into wounded bodies. Faces that no one wants to face. One had her larynx removed, her face disfigured after 6 surgeries. Another, who was once a beauty icon of the 70s, died alone, with her legs amputated and her face swollen beyond recognition. This is not just a list of 21 once brilliant faces, but the tragedy of poor goddesses who were mercilessly pushed into the abyss. Are you ready to face this truth that the whole world once tried to forget? 21. Fontella Bass, the goddess of light who snuffed out in the darkness. In the past, she was called the goddess of salvation because her voice seemed to call for hope amid despair. Fontella Bass, whose song Rescue Me echoed across America in 1965, making everyone who heard it feel like heaven had opened its doors. But no one expected that the woman who once spread light would eventually be swallowed up in darkness and loneliness. Fontella was born into a poor family in St. Louis, Missouri, from a young age. She had to face the strictness of the church and the injustice of society. But it was this material that created a voice that blended sacred gospel and intense R&B. Rescue Me was not just a hit. It was a cry for help turned into music, something that people later realized was the calling of her life. Step by step to the top, then disappeared almost without a trace. After parting ways with Chess Records, Fontella was caught up in a whirlwind of housework, sacrifice, and oblivion. In 2005, a reunion at the old church in St. Louis stunned many. No one recognized her, the woman standing in the corner with patchy hair loss, red eyes from diabetes medication, and a swollen face from chronic kidney disease. A witness, Clara Jones, Fontella's high school best friend, tearfully recalled, "I saw those lips, and my heart ached. Those were the lips that sang the words that saved me from divorce, from depression. But that day, she didn't say anything. She just smiled, shaking slightly." Clara was the one who witnessed Fontella's first stroke, and also the one who called the ambulance the night she fell into a coma from complications of high blood pressure. Many in the industry once blamed Fontella for leaving too soon, but few knew that she had been forced to sign exploitative contracts, denied health insurance, and forced to use her savings to support her mother and children. The music industry, which once worshipped her voice, eventually turned its back on her when she was no longer young, beautiful, suitable for cover shooting. She died in 2012 after decades of fighting in silence. The last photo published in the local newspaper shocked many fans. Is that Fontella, the woman with cloudy eyes, sunken cheeks, wrinkled skin, and lips that were once the symbol of music, but now just a silent dot? But if you look closely, you will see something that never disappears, the warm light in that gaze. Beauty lies not in the skin or the eyes, but in the deepest part of the soul, where Fontella still sings, still saves the world with her silent call. 20. Vicki Anderson, the woman who once challenged the stage with her iron eyes. If there is anyone who made James Brown's entire band stop playing to listen, it is Vicki Anderson. Her voice was like a sword cutting through silence, sharp, fierce, and powerful. But no one expected that later. This woman's beauty would be suffocated by time to the point that no one would recognize her. Born in 1939 in Texas, Vicki started singing in her teens at church services, invited by James Brown to collaborate. She was the soul of his international tours. Not only singing, Vicki was also a style icon. Her reddish-brown skin was shiny, like ebony. Her famous thick lips and her eyes were like fire. But after retiring to take care of her family and husband, artist Bobby Bird, Vicki lived quietly. Few people knew that she was fighting a terrible bone and joint disease. In 2010, at a James Brown tribute ceremony in Georgia, There was a woman sitting in a wheelchair behind the row of honor. Her face was sagging on one side, her lips were drooping, and her left eye was completely drooping. When the MC said the name Vicki Anderson, the crowd didn't applaud. They didn't recognize her as the one there. Her daughter recalled, "My mother always covered her face when she went out. She refused to look in the mirror for years. A person who once had the whole stage stand up for her was now afraid of other people's eyes." Vicki was hospitalized for joint effusion and pneumonia complications from an overdose of painkillers. Her whole life was a sacrifice. After 1975, she refused many invitations to reunite with the band because she thought she was no longer beautiful, no longer able to stand. The music industry that once hailed her as a goddess eventually forgot about her as if she had never existed. No one talked about her illness. No one talked about the time she collapsed backstage in pain. When she passed away in 2023, the photo chosen for publication was an old photo from the 70s. Because there was no current photo beautiful enough. The truth is that no one wanted the public to see the true image of a goddess ravaged by time. But in the memories of true music lovers, Vicki was never ugly. She was an emotional scream in the dark, a woman who dared to cut her blood to protect art. 19. Marva Whitney, the warrior, whose soul was drained by a fateful fall. Marva Whitney was once known as the Funky Diva, a woman with a thunderous voice and the demeanor of a warrior who never gave up. As a close associate of James Brown, she walked amidst the thunder of lights and the cheers of thousands of audiences. But in the end, a small fall left her face never to heal. Born in 1944 in Kansas City, Marva grew up between gospel and funk, between expectations and skepticism about black women in music. She once refused to go on a European tour in 1969 to stay and take care of her dying mother, which caused her career to stagnate. In 2009, during a small performance in Tokyo, Japan, she suddenly collapsed on stage. A stroke. The stroke left the left side of her face completely distorted, her eyes unable to open, and her mouth tilted to the right. When she was brought back to America, she could no longer recognize herself in the mirror. "Who am I used to be, Marva Whitney," she whispered to the doctor like a child who had lost her mother. A former band member said, "When I first saw her after the stroke, I didn't dare say anything. That was not the Marva I knew, the one who used to scream at the whole studio when someone played the wrong chord." Her voice was muffled, literally and figuratively. In the last year of her life, Marva lived in a modest nursing home in Missouri. No one recognized her as the one who sang with James Brown because her face was shriveled, her hair was thinning, and her voice was only a whisper like the wind. But one day, the nurse played an old recording, "It's My Thing," and everyone saw a light in her eyes, although her face could not smile. Her eyes lit up like a last fire. Marva Whitney never gave up. She didn't die of a stroke. She died because the world forgot a warrior who sang until her throat was sore from passion. 18. Barbara Mason, the muse who turned to stone in front of the mirror. Barbara Mason was once considered the muse of painful love songs, with smooth caramel skin, sad eyes that sang for the heart, and hair as fluffy as afternoon clouds. She once made the audience collapse with just one line of the song, "Yes, I'm ready." But no one could have expected that the woman who once represented innocent and pure beauty would grow old with a face so disfigured that even her relatives could hardly recognize her. The 60s were Barbara's time, but the halo quickly faded when R&B changed, when the big stages gradually left her. Barbara lived a secluded life in Philadelphia. The invitations to perform gradually decreased. The pressure of age and the disappearance from the media made her obsessed with her appearance. She once confided to a friend, "I feel like I'm fading. I want to be beautiful again. Beautiful like before, just once." In 2005, Barbara decided to have a facelift and autologous fat injection. The doctor warned her of the risk of swelling and complications due to her constitution. But she silently signed the consent form, as if accepting any price to keep a bit of her former glory. A few weeks later, the swelling spread across her cheeks and forehead. Her left eye gradually blurred. Her facial features were distorted. A witness, who was a clinic employee, recounted when she looked at herself in the mirror. She stood still for 3 minutes. She didn't cry, didn't speak, just kept quiet. From then on, Barbara lived almost as a recluse. She refused reunions, didn't take pictures, and didn't appear in public. Those who were once loyal fans no longer saw any new images. Some tabloids once reported vaguely that Barbara Mason has disappeared. But she was still there, living quietly in her small apartment, never once saying anything. Barbara's face at the end of her life only appeared briefly in a leaked private funeral clip. Those who watched the clip all shared the same heartbreaking feeling. Is that her? There were no more soft lines, only crisscrossing skin marks, closed eyes, and purple, swollen lips. But there was still one thing left, a slightly wrinkled forehead, as if still humming an unfinished song. No one escapes time, but some people carry the pain of time more deeply than others. Barbara Mason is one of them. She loved music, loved light, and loved beauty. But in the journey to preserve her beauty, she lost a part of herself. Her story is a gentle but profound wake-up call that true value is not on the face, but in the heart that still knows how to beat. 17. Ruby Andrews, the woman who flew through the windshield. Ruby Andrews was once a hidden symbol of Chicago soul. Her beauty was not dazzling, but gentle with a bit of rebellion, like a stubborn flower growing in the middle of a dusty street. The voice of Casanova, Your Playing Days Are Over, still makes many people remember Ruby's slightly squinted eyes and her unique tilted smile. But those who met her after 1994 could not believe that it was the same person. One rainy November night, Ruby was driving home from a small reunion of old-school soul artists. An SUV ran a red light and slammed into the side of her car. Ruby, who was not wearing a seatbelt, was thrown from her seat, hit her face on the windshield, and rolled onto the side of the road. The accident did not kill her, but it did take away the face that had captivated so many hearts. Doctors at Northwestern Hospital said she had a broken jaw, broken cheekbone, blood clots around her eye, and damaged facial nerves. Surgery took 8 hours to repair her face, but she lost the ability to express half of her face. Every time she spoke, her lips trembled on one side, and her left eye could no longer close. A neighbor, Mr. Gary, who had been a fan of Ruby for 30 years, recalled the time he met her at the pharmacy. I couldn't believe it. Her hair was cut short, her left cheek was swollen, and her lips drooped. I looked at her and was speechless, but she still recognized me. She smiled, but that smile hurt. After the accident, Ruby withdrew from all stages. Although her health gradually recovered, the scar on her face and the complete change in her appearance made her not dare to sing anymore. Record companies did not call. Fans no longer mentioned her name. The oblivion hurt more than the collision years ago. Ruby lived in an old apartment, received social assistance, and never appeared on air again. Not all deaths happen at once. Some people, like Ruby, die slowly from every prying eye, every whisper, every mirror that people dare not look in. But there are also people like her, still living, still walking, still smiling, even though that face is no longer the same as before. We often love someone for what they once were, but perhaps love is more complete when we still respect them, even when time and accident have taken everything away. Ruby is proof that true beauty lies not in the cheekbones, but in the courage to step out of the darkness. 16. Thelma Houston, the angel of fire, burned out after the storm of chemotherapy. Thelma Houston was once a fiery lightning bolt of the disco wave, with her big round eyes, charming curly hair, and fiery body. She once made the whole world revolve to the melody of Don't Leave Me This Way. But few people know that. That fire was later burned out by a silent battle cancer and chemotherapy. Thelma was diagnosed with breast cancer in early 2009 when she was preparing to return to the stage after a long absence. Doctors recommended strong chemotherapy combined with radiation therapy. During the treatment process, she did not reveal any information to the public, still smiling, still attending events with wigs and thick makeup to hide her dark skin and swelling. But when 2011 came, her body began to react badly. The chemicals caused her to lose all her eyebrows and eyelids, and her face to swell from water retention. A former assistant recalled, "There were days when she looked in the mirror and burst into tears. Her eyes couldn't open wide, her lips were cracked, and her skin was pale. She whispered, 'If I'm no longer beautiful, will they still listen to me sing?'" At a reunion of former artists in Las Vegas in 2013, Thelma appeared but wore a hat, glasses, and a scarf that covered half of her face. Very few people recognized her. A photographer tried to take her picture, but she gently stepped back, refused, and left the hall after only 10 minutes, although the disease was later controlled. Thelma never returned to the stage as before. She stayed in Los Angeles, lived quietly, and rarely gave interviews. The current photos are all old, carefully edited. The face that once set the dance floor on fire has completely changed. Thelma did not die of illness, but she quietly said goodbye to her iconic image, despite being battered by time, medicine, and the public eye. She still exists as a warrior who knows she was once brilliant and no longer needs to prove it. And that is the biggest lesson: not everyone can keep their beauty until the end of their lives. But everyone has the right to keep their dignity. We cannot stop time, but we can choose to walk through it with respect for ourselves. Like Thelma did. 15. Linda Jones, the angel who fell in silence. Linda Jones was once called the angel whose voice pierced through all the pain. When she sang Hypnotized, the whole world seemed to fall silent. Her beauty was not only in her harmonious face, but also in the way she closed her eyes during each long chant, as if connecting to a very far, very sacred place. But sadly, that beauty faded in silence and fear before she could reach the pinnacle of glory. Linda was born in 1944, starting her singing career when she was just over 10 years old. She is the new hope of the R&B village. Considered to be the successor to Dionne Warwick or Aretha Franklin. However, inside that slim body was a dangerous disease that was slowly eating away at her everyday diabetes. Linda hid her illness for most of her career. An old friend recalled, she always wore sunglasses on stage, not because of style, but because many days her eyes were red from lack of sleep, tired from fluctuating blood sugar. She did not want the audience to see her fatigue, so she hid everything behind thick makeup and a professional smile. In 1972, while waiting to perform at the Apollo Theater, Linda collapsed in the dressing room. Backstage staff discovered her unconscious, her breathing weak, and her face strangely pale. Her left cheek was slightly swollen. Her eyes were dark. Her lips were chapped. No one recognized the singer who had once made the audience suffocate. Linda died at the age of 27 from complications of diabetes just 3 months before. She was still singing, still standing on stage like a queen. No one knew that inside was a body that was falling apart. No one in the industry told her to take a break. In that world, a young black woman was not allowed to be weak. She had to shine, to sing, to please the crowd, even when she was dying. Linda left too soon, leaving behind endless regrets, but also leaving behind a profound lesson that no career is worth losing your life. Sometimes, courage is not about continuing to stand on stage, but daring to say, "I need a break." Love your body before it falls. 14. Shirley Brown, eyes that were once sharp but now dim with age. Shirley Brown was once known as the woman with the sharpest eyes on the soul stage. When she sang Woman to Woman, her gaze was like a knife piercing the heart of the person opposite. Beautiful, fierce, and full of control. But what few people know is that behind the stage was a woman who had no control over anything from her health, appearance, to her emotions. After turning 40, Shirley began to gain weight rapidly due to hormonal disorders. She kept quiet in the face of criticism and harsh comments from the public. A band member recalled one time during rehearsal, Shirley had difficulty breathing and had to sit down in the middle of a song. She said, "Don't worry, I'm just a little tired." But her face was swollen, her cheeks were red, and her skin had tiny rashes. She hid her illness, like many black artists of that generation. Shirley did not trust doctors. In addition, she was afraid of losing roles, losing opportunities, and losing her reputation if people knew she was getting weaker. For a decade, she lived with complications of high cholesterol, high blood pressure, and fatty liver, but did not treat them properly. By the early 2000s, Shirley's face began to change. Her cheeks sagged, her eyes were swollen, and her neck was slightly swollen. Many people say she had a facelift, but the truth is that there was no surgery. It was the result of corticosteroids and liver side effects. She no longer dared to take close-up photos. In rare performances, she requested very dim lighting. Once, when she was filmed close-up, she cried backstage. Despite the pain, Shirley never complained. She just quietly retreated backstage, leaving her once sharp eyes in the memories of her fans. Her face at the end of her life is something that many people avoid mentioning, not because it was ugly, but because it was too different, like a soul distorted by time. But even if her appearance changed, the value she left behind did not. Shirley Brown is proof that eyes can lose their shine, faces can change, but music truly never ages. And sometimes, the only thing we need to protect in life is not beauty, but self-respect and a heart that still knows how to love ourselves. 13. Jean Knight, the heavy pink shadow behind the lights. Jean Knight once made the whole of America ask Mr. Big Stuff, "Who do you think you are?" with her powerful, sulky voice and unmatched confidence. In the 1970s, she was a symbol of full-bodied beauty, charm, and intelligence. But decades later, that body became a burden, and her beauty gradually faded into heavy silence. Jean was a woman who always struggled with her weight. From a young age, she received advice to lose a few pounds to get more roles. But she did not listen. She said, "I am beautiful the way I am." However, over time, her body weight increased uncontrollably due to metabolic disorders, type 2 diabetes, and hypothyroidism. In the last years of her life, Jean hardly left the house. She only went out at night, when it was dark enough to be unrecognizable. Said a neighbor in New Orleans, her face was swollen, her skin was dark, and there were scaly patches from diabetes complications. She had long-term skin ulcers on her legs and face, requiring strong antibiotics. No one in the industry invited her to perform anymore. No one wanted to see the sex symbol of the 70s now walking on crutches on stage. She was forgotten, as if her appearance was the only thing people remembered Jean Knight for. One night in 2009, her niece shared. Jean sat in the dark, looking through old albums. "That's me. Now, I don't dare look in the mirror." The words left listeners speechless. A once proud person, once dominating the radio, could no longer look at herself. Jean died in 2010. The photo printed on the obituary was an old portrait, brightened and smoothed. No one has published her true image in her later years. Jean Knight's story is not about the sadness of losing her beauty, but about the injustice of a world that only values women when they are still beautiful. But Jean is still Jean, a warrior with music, with pride, and with a final message: never let the spotlight determine your worth. 12. Betty Wright, the flame extinguished in a skinny body. Betty Wright was once the embodiment of vitality. Her powerful voice, bright smile, and strong body captivated many people in the hit Clean Up Woman. On stage, she was a fiery warrior, but behind the lights, another silent war was silently taking away not only her vitality, but also her beauty: cancer. Betty was diagnosed with uterine cancer in the early 2010s, but kept it a secret. Only a few relatives knew. She continued to perform. record, and give interviews as if the disease did not exist. But people in the profession began to notice. A stage assistant once said Betty was weaker. There were times when she wore 3 layers of clothes just to cover her thin body. Her face was sunken. Her eyes were sunken. But she still smiled and sang as if she had never been in pain. Her last public appearances shocked many fans. Her once radiant beauty was now just a blur behind her paper-thin skin. Her thick hair, once her pride, gradually fell out with each round of chemotherapy. Many people asked her why she did not say anything. She just answered softly, "I do not want the audience to remember me as weak." She passed away in 2020. In her final months, she weighed only 40 kilograms and could barely walk. But before she died, Betty still asked her son to record her laughter. "If I'm gone, play this," she said, "so someone remembers that I was a flame." Betty Wright's story is a heartbreaking testament to the fact that no one is immune to the forces of time. But it's also a lesson in humanity that sometimes the greatest strength is when you're weak and still able to shine your light on others. If you're still here after 10 stories of loss, it shows that your heart is compassionate, but what comes after will make you sob even deeper. Stop for a second and ask yourself, if they were men, would the world be so cruel to judge their decline? 11. Millie Jackson, the woman who told the truth, but no one asked if she was okay. Millie Jackson is known as the straightforward queen of R&B. She once held the stage breathless with her humorous, street-style lines, while maintaining a sexy demeanor and a strong personality. But behind the fierce image was a woman who was gradually forgotten and ravaged by time and stress. Millie had gone through many troubled relationships, the pressure of raising a child alone, being ostracized for her real performance style, and being attacked by the press more than once. These things gradually showed up on her face in the most painful way, in the form of premature wrinkles, skin complications, and a tired look in her eyes. Millie's former manager recalled that at one point, she suffered from chronic anxiety, but she did not seek treatment. Instead, she took sleeping pills, painkillers, and caffeine to stay awake for shows that lasted until late at night. In the early 2000s, many fans were surprised to see her appear with a swollen face, thin red skin, and sunken eyes as if she had cried many nights in a row. She still performed, but avoided the camera. Once, when asked by a reporter why she no longer smiled as brightly as before, she answered briefly, "Because I have nothing to laugh about." Millie did not collapse suddenly. She gradually melted under the indifferent gaze of the world, and the very industry that once encouraged that rebellion turned its back on her when she became exhausted, no longer beautiful enough to promote. Her current face, if anyone saw her again, would be strange. But what is more precious is the truth. She lives honestly, speaks honestly, and carries within her the most genuine loneliness, and it is that, not her appearance, that makes Millie Jackson worthy of being honored. 10. Miki Howard, the princess lost in the dark of depression. Miki Howard was once a symbol of elegant and luxurious beauty. Her face was likened to a porcelain doll with brown skin. Her eyes were sparkling with stories, and her voice was like a stream of fresh water flowing in the desert of soul music. But less than a decade after her peak, that beauty was shattered. And the cause was not an accident or illness, but the darkness of her soul. Miki was once very passionately in love, but loved the wrong person. After a violent breakup, she fell into depression. To combat sleepless nights, she started taking drugs. Then the drugs became addictive, combined with the pressure to maintain her image. She abused makeup, lost weight drastically, and drank alcohol to stay calm before each performance. A close friend recounted that one night, Miki was found lying unconscious backstage with her face smeared with makeup, her hair disheveled, and her lips swollen from dehydration. But the next morning, she walked on stage as if nothing had happened. Over the years, Miki began to appear less frequently. When she returned, the audience was stunned. Her face was now full of stretch marks. Her cheeks were sunken, her lips were crooked, and her eyes were cloudy. Gone was the elegance of her past, replaced by a woman who seemed to have just escaped a decades-long inner storm. A 2016 documentary captured Mickey looking in the mirror and exclaiming, "I used to be beautiful, but I don't care anymore." The statement left the audience both choked up and awakened. Mickey Howard is a reminder that outer beauty can be stolen by depression, addiction, and the emotional wounds that society often ignores. But when you survive it all, like Mickey, you are more beautiful than any spotlight ever shone on you. 9. Marlina Shaw, the intelligent face. Disappears in the foggy mirror. Marlina Shaw was once known as the woman with the singing eyes, her face always lit up as if she were about to say something funny or wise, with her voice that blended jazz, soul, and funk. She once wowed the world with California soul. But later, even that sharp gaze could not recognize her in the mirror. In her later years, Marlina suffered from many chronic diseases, high blood pressure, kidney failure, diabetes, and signs of dementia began to erode her body and mind. A close friend said that Marlina once quietly looked into the bathroom mirror and whispered, "I don't know who that person is." Her face was swollen, her cheeks sagged, her skin was dark, and her eyes were cloudy as if covered in mist. The music industry once celebrated her, but then almost forgot her. No new contracts, no invitations to perform. No one printed her image on the cover of a record anymore. The beauty that was once a source of pride has now become a deep inferiority complex. Marlina died in 2024, quietly. Her last photo was not widely shared because it was so different from the image in the memories of her fans. The face may disappear, but the memory remains. Marlina Shaw teaches us that true beauty lies in the life you once brought, not in the mirror, but in the hearts of others. 8. Anita Ward, Princess of Disorder in the Middle of a Broken Dream. Anita Ward was a true disco princess with the hit Ring My Bell. She rose to fame, bringing with her radiant beauty, velvety skin, and a gentle smile that made listeners feel at peace. But when the spotlight went off, her life went into a downward spiral, and the first signs began on her face. After her unexpected success, Anita was caught in a spiral of contract disputes, career decline, and feelings of being exploited. From a rising star, she almost disappeared in just 2 years. The psychological shock not only affected her spirit, but also destroyed her body. Anita began to suffer from an eating disorder. She gained and lost weight abnormally. Her skin began to sag, dark circles under her eyes, sunken cheeks, and a thin neck. A witness who met her at a fan meeting in the 2000s said, "I saw her walk in and couldn't believe it. Her hair was disheveled, and her loose dress covered her shrunken body. I could tell she had cried a lot." The music industry did not give her a chance to come back. No one asked how a star had fallen. Anita's face, once a symbol of youth, was now replaced by a withered gaze and a smoldering sadness. But even in her ravaged appearance, Anita is a testament to what matters. Fame may come quickly, but what keeps us going is the courage to overcome the fall, and that is the deepest beauty. 7. Angela Bofil, Silent Lips After Two Storms. Angela Bofil was once a symbol of nobility. Her face was sharp, her eyes deep, and her lips perfectly curved when she sang, "I Try," or "This Time I'll Be Sweeter." Listeners felt the emotions of a strong but fragile woman, but life was not gentle with her. In 2006, Angela suffered her first stroke. Half her body was paralyzed, and she lost the ability to speak, although she recovered slowly. Her appearance began to change dramatically. Her face tilted to one side, her mouth was crooked, and her left eye was no longer in control. She returned to the stage in 2010, but she no longer sang. She just sat there, smiled, and told stories. In 2013, a second stroke struck. This time, things were worse. Angela's face was swollen, her facial muscles contracted, Her neck stiffened, and her skin was abnormally thick from the drugs. I used to think she was a goddess. A former colleague sobbed, but the last time I saw her, I had to hold back tears. She sat still, not speaking, just smiling softly with her one moving cheek. The world had heard her sing, but no one heard her screams. The industry didn't know how to treat artists after they fell. Angela died in 2023, not in her full glory, but with a body that could barely express itself. But her voice recorded when she was still alive lives on. Angela Bofil is a gentle, haunting reminder. Love your body, listen to the signs, and never let fame obscure the true pain inside. 6. Mary Wells, the queen who lost her voice and face. Mary Wells was once the first voice of Motown, a gentle beauty icon with wavy hair and sparkling eyes that even Berry Gordy was fascinated by. But when she was diagnosed with laryngeal cancer, she lost not only her voice, but also her iconic face. The disease progressed slowly but cruelly. Mary had to undergo many surgeries to save her life, including removing tissue from her neck, causing obvious disfigurement. A witness said that the last time she saw her at a small event in Los Angeles, she was wearing a headscarf, large sunglasses, and could barely speak. Her lips were crooked, her neck was swollen, and her voice came out like a weak breath. Mary was once an idol, but by the end of her life, no one would recognize her without being introduced. Her once radiant face was just a memory. She died in 1992, leaving behind a profound lesson: even angels need to rest. And behind every song is a body that needs to be listened to. 5. Phyllis Heyman, the proud goddess falls into the abyss. Phyllis Heyman once stunned the entire showbiz with her noble beauty, royal demeanor, and mysterious, sad eyes. But that beauty could not save her from the darkness of prolonged depression. After years of hiding her illness, forcing herself in performances, and abusing drugs to control her emotions, Phyllis collapsed. On June 30th, 1995, she overdosed on drugs in a hotel room. Her body was discovered with pale skin, a sunken face, and a dead gaze. The manager said, "Phyllis used to be as beautiful as a statue, but in her last years, she did not dare to look in the mirror. Memories of her enchanting beauty now only remain in old photos." The music industry applauds the singing, but no one listens to the silent cry for help. Phyllis's story is an example of sensitive souls crushed in a world of lights and expectations. The price of perfection, sometimes, is life itself. 4. Leverne Baker, the woman who lost her legs but not her dignity. Leverne Baker was once the first black female rock and roll icon. Strong face, slim chin, fiery eyes. But when diabetes complications struck, she gradually lost everything: her legs, her health, and then the face that once made men turn their heads. Many painful surgeries caused her facial muscles to shrink. Her skin was wrinkled, her eyes were sunken, and her lips were dry and cracked. A nursing staff at a nursing home in New York said, "We used to have to point to old photos to confirm that it was her." Leverne lost both legs and was in a wheelchair for most of her last decade. However, she never complained. She still appeared at small events, even though the audience's eyes were full of pity. That is true beauty, courageously facing pain without hiding it. Leverne Baker did not just lose her beauty. She devoted her whole body to music, and still kept her dignity until the last minute of her life. 3. Eta James, the face that once burned the stage to ashes of memories. Eta James once possessed wild beauty, fiery eyes, and a voice that burned every dark corner. But behind the halo was a life immersed in addiction, violence, and bad memories after years of struggling with drugs. She was hospitalized to recover from a weakened body and a confused mind. When Alzheimer's struck, Eta no longer recognized herself. A nurse recalled she looked at her younger photos and asked, "Who is that?" at the end of her life. Her skin was wrinkled, her eyes were cloudy, her mouth was shriveled, and her voice was only a labored breath. The beauty that once dominated the stage was now just a shadow in the memories of her fans. Eta passed away quietly, reminding us that fame cannot keep the soul if you let it gnaw at you. 2. Natalie Cole, the last royal princess turned into a painful shadow. Natalie Cole was once the golden daughter of music, with an aristocratic beauty, a noble demeanor, and a voice like a soft black silk ribbon. But behind that crown were years of fighting addiction, hepatitis C, and finally kidney failure. The once noble face became gaunt, cheekbones exposed, eyes sunken, skin gray, and lips dry. A friend recalled, "I didn't recognize her the last time." Despite trying to sing, write books, and inspire. Illness still exhausted Natalie's body until the last minute. From a symbol of beauty and intelligence, she became an example of perseverance. But the image of her final life made many hearts ache. Natalie left like a broken-winged warrior, leaving a message live, true to yourself, before the world suffocates you with expectations. 1. Aretha Franklin, immortal goddess in a disintegrating body. Aretha Franklin is an immortal symbol of natural beauty, her curly hair, bright skin, and queenly demeanor that the whole world admired. But pancreatic cancer and years of hiding her illness ravaged her body from the inside out. When she last appeared in 2017, she was just a pale shadow of herself, skinny, sunken cheeks, dull eyes, a weak voice that seemed to be about to die. A backstage person said she sat for a long time in front of the mirror, then gently pulled the veil over her face. The beauty that was once worshipped now became something she was ashamed of. Aretha died in 2018, leaving behind a great legacy and a heartbreaking truth no matter how great you are. Life is still fragile. She made us understand that. Sometimes, what is most important to preserve is not the image, but the courage to face the truth. The once bright faces may no longer be intact, but that does not diminish their value. Every wrinkle, every scar is a story, a testament to a life of dedication and love. Look at them with understanding, because true beauty is never superficial. We are grateful for the sympathy you have for the souls who once lit up an era. If this story makes you choke up, please like and share it with your loved ones. Comment below to remember an artist you'll never forget, because sometimes just a reminder is enough to keep them alive in the hearts of their fans.